Hello. Welcome to my show. This is Mishmash Soup, and my name is Melissa. And say hello to my random stream of consciousness. So today we have a guest, my son known as the Classy Queer, Franklin.
Hello everyone. Glad to be here.
So let's get into it, shall we, randos?
All right.
So how has your week been going?
Same old. Work, sleep, work out, work again, repeat.
So it's rinse and repeat, basically.
Yeah, but today did some OT for
your job.
Yeah, for my job
because this is not our regular job, of course.
But yeah, we just have some mandatory overtime. So today I was gonna get a big portion of that knocked out. So
yes, and it's actually Public Servants Recognition Week, or the end of it. So
that's right.
Yeah.
So I think our job just had us, or they had, I think, gift cards like $10 each. They passed them out to some people. But
I didn't even get that.
I think it was only 45 people.
Well, we got to do scavenger hunts, and they did the wheel. And so what happened was I never got chosen, of course, because I never win anything. But oh well.
I never win anything too.
I mean, there's no animosity there or bitterness,
So wait, how has your week been?
Oh, it's been tiring. I will say that much. I'm learning the new process, so it's always interesting when you learn new processes. But yeah,
for a new job, yeah. Yeah,
for a new job. I mean, I've been doing it since January, but officially, I'm still new. At least until I hit year one.
You said since January, so we're February, March, April.
It's May.
May, so 4 months.
Simple math.
Yeah.
5.
Wait.
Month 5. Month 5, and it's actually...
well, you're almost at the halfway point.
Oh,
and then you'll be considered tenured.
Yes.
And then you can do all the work for me.
Not.
So we have our Starbucks here as well. I got the guava passion fruit drink.
And I got the shaken black tea because it was a tea kind of day. Iced, of course. Shaken, not stirred.
I've never tried this before, and...
Is it good?
It's real good.
It's yummy.
Yes, I think that's going to be like a new favorite of mine. Probably it's a summer treat.
Yes. So anyway, I was thinking, I want to talk about all things spooky.
Spooky. Ooh. Spooky ookie.
I want to talk about the master of horror. Any guesses?
Dean Koontz?
I like him, but nah.
He does a different type of horror.
He does, actually. Dean Koontz is right up there. I mean, he's one of my, he's also another one that I like to read. Him, John Saul.
You actually got me into Dean Koontz. What the first book I read from him was Insanity. Oh, wait, is it?
No, Intensity.
Intensity, that's what it was.
You said that one just really fucked you up.
Yeah, but if you're into like a home invasion sort of story, that's a really good book to read.
Oh, the one that you told... What was it? The one that I've been on and off. It was sort of like The Rain. It was about the raining and,
the
happening. Rain felt.
The Happening?
That's an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Oh, no. Well, there you go. Another horror master. Yeah, but it was called, I think it was called...
The Taking.
The Taking, that's what it was.
Yes, it kind of has like a religious undertone.
Yes.
I haven't figured out what the creatures are, but I think it's going to be an angel or a war.
Well, it's a really good book to get into if you're somebody who enjoys kind of like end of the world scenarios. This one is kind of like that, but it does take a weird twist. You think
no spoilers for me.
No spoilers. You think it's alien invasion, but it turns out to be something much more
sinister.
Yes, scary.
Ooh. But
I mean, alien invasion is pretty scary enough as it is, but like this is just a plot
not to
twist.
some people. I see some of them people. They're like, "Oh my God, they're going to be all roses and butterflies and rainbows and unicorns." It's like, no, honey, no. I mean, if they haven't made themselves known by now, I don't think they're anything nice.
And actually, it's a pretty good. It's a short read. It's I think about 300 pages or so around there, so you can get it done in about a day or two.
Yeah, when I have nothing else to do, I'm going to hopefully try to get through it soon. But no, I was talking about Stephen King.
Oh, him, yes, the master of horror.
Yeah, you know, kind of. You know, he kind of made the state of Maine, you know, creepy.
He made the state of Maine famous for just
being creepy.
And dangerous and spooky. You know, there's this one meme I saw on, or a meme that a friend of mine showed me, and it happened to be Stephen King related. And I think it was, somebody had posted, so I think it went something like this. So if you go to Maine, you die.
Well, something along the line. It is actually, I mean, fun fact, it is 90%, unindustrialized. I mean, literally 90% woods, 10% populated, or as they say, developed. Yeah, 10% of the state is developed, so that's a whole lot of woods.
I just really love the universe that he created.
Oh, the multiverse.
With his stories, with all of the fictional towns that he created for Maine, and then all the little happenings that go on in there.
The way that he interconnects them, and he was doing it before it was a thing. I feel like, he was like the original kind of like prequel. I guess because he tied a lot of stories together, and before, I never thought I would get to meet him. I mean, he'd actually know who I am, and then he would, we're not like, hey, BFFs, but,
Well, yeah, because
he knows who I am.
You worked as a public servant up in Maine, in Bangor.
Yeah, and in Bangor, right there. I mean, his house was just a stone's throw away from City Hall, and he's very involved in the community.
Yeah, he donated, I think, a big portion of his, that too, but also a big portion of his funds towards the transit system.
Yeah. Yep, he did.
But he's a really giving guy, very friendly.
And he's very unassuming. I mean, you look at him and he's like just the average Joe. I mean, people, basically, it's true. I mean, I would see him at Hannaford's, the grocery store.
Just picking up his milk.
Yeah, picking up,
Hey,
right
Steven.
Down. Hey, Steve, how are you? I mean, true fact. I mean, we went to a party together. You were young. You and your brother were young. And we went up to somewhere up near Seal Harbor. And it was like they were like friends that we had in common. Yeah. But I'm like, hey, look, that's Steve, And it was where they had a bunch of like rides and stuff, and doing face painting and the hand dipping with the wax and stuff.
Oh, I do remember that actually.
Yeah, and he was up there just kind of like, getting himself a hot dog, It's like, hey.
He really has made his name, like he really has etched his name in the genre horror. Yeah. So many works that have been adapted into films, and I have my own little personal Stephen King collection at home.
Yes, you do. True fact.
I do have a bookcase dedicated to just all his novels. I haven't quite completed it. There's still a couple of books out there that
you're missing.
Yeah, but I've been going for like the first edition hardcover books. Because I want the original artwork and stuff. So I've been collecting that. I read about just over half of his novels. And I just love how, going back to what you said, I just love how a lot of his stories kind of are woven into each other, into the same universe. And a lot of the times you hear characters that are referenced in one story from a different one, towns that were referenced, characters. So I just love it. And you don't have to read all of the books to get any one sort of storyline. Right. Each story is its own contained, but they do reference other.
And that, I think, is like really good marketing, because the very first, now I'm excited. I was like young.
You see it with
college.
You see it with like the Marvel universe and like the DC universe, how they always like reference different things, but he's kind of done that.
Yeah, and I think the very first time that I had even picked up on that it was a thing, I was in college, and I read it was one of his short stories that I was reading called Mrs. Todd's Shortcut. And I mean, it's not something that I'm pretty sure the true diehards out there would know Mrs. Todd's Shortcut.
I've never read that one.
Really, it's actually a short story, and it's actually in. It was first published, I think, in 1984. And it was
well before my time.
Yeah. It was in a Red Book. It was sold to Red Book magazine. And he actually referenced. Later it came out in a collection of short stories in Skeleton Crew, which is another one that I totally love. But he, in the story, he said, the character is having a conversation with another character and says, and makes reference to, Crandall's dog went mad, Cujo, and just killed the whole family. And I was like, because I knew about Cujo. I mean, I had read Cujo, and I was like,
yeah.
And I was like shocked. I was like, oh my God. I mean, to me, I was like, wow. They know each other. Like, it was like a real, like they were real fucking people.
It was a little Easter egg.
Yeah, it was an Easter egg. And before we pinned the term, the trendy term Easter egg, but I was like, literally, Mike was like, oh my God.
A little tidbit for his fans and readers.
Yeah.
It's just like something to kind of make you happy. Like, oh my God, I totally get that. I know where that's from.
But can you imagine if somebody didn't read Cujo, but they knew, and they were like sitting there kind of like, well, which book should I buy? I only have 20 bucks.
It kind of piques their interest.
It piques their interest, and then, hello, another sale.
There you go.
To add to my millions and billions of dollars that I already, make from all my books.
So there you go, guys. Stephen King, a marketing genius. Add that one to the list.
Yeah, but no, I mean, there's been a lot of, you are a big fan of his opus, his magnum opus.
There you go. I was going to say, brain fart. I did get, there was one story, actually two of them. There were, obviously, later on down the line, I was able to find books and get the references, but the first two that stick out to me were, I was reading Under the Dome. And that one is it's a big read.
Oh, gosh.
Over 1,000 pages, I want to say.
It's a commitment, actually.
It's a commitment. It took me at least a month and a half, 2 months to get through because I'm kind of a slow reader.
Because you have life.
Yes, life gets in the way. You have things to do. But I like to really just read a book. I don't like to kind of speed read through it. I want to be able to digest the characters, the setting, the environment. So I take my time with it. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so I was reading Under the Dome, and kind of midway through, maybe near the end of the story, the characters, they go up onto this hill where there's this device, and this device is what they suspect is causing this magical sort of force field to encapsulate the town. There's this image that is etched, I believe it's etched into the device itself, but that little insignia, the way that they described it, and I think in the book they even show a picture of it, is the same insignia that was shown in Stephen King's It, because that's the insignia that's on the door when they go into the little sewer area, into its lair, Pennywise's lair. That's the same insignia. So I was like, oh my God, like, I wonder what the connection, and it never goes any further into what the connection is other than this insignia. So it kind of just piques your interest, makes you super curious to want to know a little bit more about what's this insignia, what's the meaning behind it, and then you want to go back to it and read it.
Yeah.
That was the first one. The second one was when I read Dolores Claiborne, and it was Gerald's Game.
They tied them together.
Yes.
Through the, of course, the eclipse event is a major connecting point in a lot of his stories.
So it was the scene in the book when Dolores' character, I think she just pushes her husband down the well, and in the moment, I think she gets a vision of this young female. And then vice versa in the book Gerald's Game.
The little girl, she sees somebody looking, because she's looking up, and somebody's looking down from like a circle, like a well.
Yes, and that's Dolores. So they had like a psychic connection. So those two books are kind of interlinked too.
They had a bit, like I think in one of another podcast I was listening to, they had a bit of like kind of The Shine, which is another term because he's actually mainstreamed, I guess, created a bunch of these terms. Yeah. That, like The Shine, you have The Shining.
Speaking of The Shining, that's actually another thing that he kind of, a lot of his characters have, when it comes to characters with psychic abilities, he coins the term The Shining, and he kind of alludes to the fact that The Shining is a real thing that a lot of people in his stories tend to have. Like, for example, you could say Carrie shined, and her shine was that she was able to have some sort of telekinesis. Yeah. With Daniel Firestarter, her was pyrokinesis. What was Danny Torrance?
Danny Torrance was The Shining.
Able to hear and see dead people.
Well, he actually, he could see a piece. He could see something that happened, especially traumatic. The memories of
a place.
Of a place.
Or people, correct.
Yeah, or people, yeah. So and of course we all know that Jack Torrance, which was Danny's dad, had the shine too.
But just in a different way.
Yeah, exactly.
His was, I think it was, and I could be wrong, but I think his was like the absence of any sort of, it was the exact opposite of what the shine is, and so that in and of itself was a type of shining. He drew dark energy around him.
Yeah,
to him.
Exactly. Yeah, he was a beacon for that. But no, I mean he was like, oh my god, like, and we're talking like if he's still like,
and then
dead. He's still alive.
He's still alive.
He's 73.
We're just appreciating his work, though. His work really is super interesting. It's a fun read.
Let me tell you, he was the first person that I read that brought, because we can all say that we like horror writers, but he is more of a, you know, you think of horror writers and you think of all the gore and the jumps and the scares and the boo and the ghostesses and stuff like that. But I mean, he actually made, you know, doing a little paper boat going down, you know, in the river. I mean, he made that scary as shit.
I think it's because he even talks about it too. He talks about that, how he hones and what's the word I'm looking for? He
redefined horror for me in just everyday things. The horror of the human condition.
He really learned how to
hone.
When it comes to Stephen King, he really did. He really mastered his craft of true terror. Because he even goes into this in some of his interviews. He talks about how there's a difference between horror and terror, and a lot of the stories he tells are in that terror genre.
Yeah, you're right. They're tales of terror.
Because he describes terror as like that. More of a feeling, a gut feeling that you have, like the chill on the back of your spine, that feeling, the hair on your skin raises, the unknown. So,
or that pit that you feel, that, you know,
yes, the pit in your heart.
Exactly.
When you know something bad's about to happen. He then goes into explaining that horror is more like the gore, the ghouls, the physical horror that you can kind of like. That's an easy sell. But yeah, he really has mastered the craft of terror telling. In
Gerald's game, which is, we touched on Dolores Claiborne, and then we touched on, you said Gerald's Game.
Yeah.
But Gerald's Game, I was really surprised of. I mean, he made a weekend getaway, get freaky with your husband, into something that's
something
terrifying.
But I was just gonna say, so I don't mean to interrupt, but because my first book was Carrie. That was the first Stephen King book I read, and I read it fairly like recently. I want to say like maybe 7 years ago, and that was my entryway into him. You were the one who got me onto Gerald's Game. That was my second book I read, and just the way that you sold it to me, and told me about the premise and like what happened. Yeah, you're right. He really did find a way to tell something as so as going over to a weekend getaway with your husband.
Yeah, gonna get freaky with the, you know, with the bondage, kind of soft bondage, and then life happens. Life interrupts you, and he has a heart attack.
Do you think it's spoilers if we kind of tell a bit about the premise? I feel like this book is
15
years old or something.
It's out on Netflix,
which is actually, it's a really good watch for those who haven't seen Gerald's Game on Netflix. I think you should watch it. I think they adapted it. I think they adapted the book into a movie like really well.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. And actually, did you ever read Rose Matter? I told you about Rose Matter.
That was the third book I read. Rose Matter.
I mean, he really I think he's shown a light on how terrifying being with a abusive spouse can be. Because, I mean, that's their nightmare. Imagine if somebody's going through that, that's their nightmare.
Yeah.
And we cannot ever, you know, say, oh, it's not, you know, it's no big deal. I mean, it's a big deal.
Yeah, because he goes into the details.
Trapped.
He goes into the details, and he really... Rose is the character, right? He really talks about like the struggle she goes through, the horror of her husband finding her as she's going, you know, as she's running away from the situation.
Start a new life, yeah.
And actually, as I was reading it, it reads very much like that, like a spouse who's running away from her husband, trying to get her life together, and
in hiding,
and then again, halfway through the book, or at least kind of near the end, it does a total 180, and then like all of a sudden you're in this painting. you're like in this fantasy world painting that comes to life.
Kind of like very reminiscent of What Dreams May Come.
Yes.
Kind of like, that Robin Williams movie. I'm like, whoa. I mean,
yeah, it becomes quite abstract in what happens kind of near the end of the film. Oh, sorry, the film.
The story.
I wish it were a film.
I wish, yeah.
Yes.
I really want that one to be next. I really I'm trying to send
I think it is.
It's like Steve.
Steve, your husband?
No, Steve. It's Steve because he hates being called Steven. Steve King. It's like, Steve, can you just do Rose Matter next?
Yes.
Because I think that would be a great,
especially with the whole social movement that we're in today when it comes to
Me Too?
The Me Too movement,
women's rights,
women empowering
women, yes.
And kind of speaking out against abuse. And so I think that would be a perfect film to adapt. A perfect novel to adapt into a film, given the climate that we're in with that issue.
Now, you do know, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room when it comes to The Shining. Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. I mean, it was a marvel of
it really was.
But he really took a lot of great latitude with that book. I mean, he really put it on his own spin, and it kind of pissed off. Yeah,
notoriously, Stephen King notoriously just hates that film.
He hates it because he took a lot of creative license with the story. Because if you read the story, and I really highly recommend that you read the book first.
There's a lot of stuff in the movie that was completely left out. There's a lot of stuff in the book that was completely left out.
The movie, and it was the whole animal shaped hedges and stuff that come to life. Where it's like, where is it? I'm like, what?
I will say that Stanley Kubrick's film, in its own right, I loved that I think it's a masterpiece. I think even though he took a lot of liberty from when he was creating the film, I think ultimately he told it in his own way. But I loved the book for what Stephen King did for it, but then I also liked the film for what that was too. And I think Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall, they were perfect in that film.
Yes, and it's like, can they just hug it out?
I think
isn't Stanley dead?
Yeah, he's dead.
I'm like, well, they can't hug it out now, but
Yeah, but there's an example of just somebody who adapted one of his novels, and he did not like the way it came out.
Oh no, he really didn't. And Steve has had some books that have not been really translated well to film or made for TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, it's so heartbreaking because you watch the made for TV movie or the film and you're like,
what is this?
What happened?
Am I back in grade school?
It's I'm sorry, Cat's Eye, which is has a little bit of a cult following. It's got Drew Barrymore, young Drew Barrymore. I think it's before she cleaned up in A. Which, true fact, they do share that too.
Oh, that's true. That's right.
Because he is a recovered, very proud he is, and he no shame in his game. He'll say, "Yeah, I haven't drank. I think I'm dry. It's been 40 years or something." Yeah. But
good for him, good for anybody who changes their life around for the better.
Yeah, and nothing wrong with having a little bit of a tipple, but when your tipple starts off in the morning at 6 a.m., you got to start questioning yourself.
Exactly.
But no, I have some made for TV or made for Netflix ones that I just did not like in the Tall Grass.
See, now you don't like In the Tall Grass, and I loved In the Tall Grass.
Yeah, I'm just
maybe it was a little too abstract for you.
I just I was like, what?
Patrick Wilson. Who else was in it? It was Patrick Wilson for sure.
Was it Patrick Wilson?
Yeah, Patrick Wilson. He played the father.
Oh my, no.
He was also the guy. He was I think
Thomas Jane was in 1943.
I think that's the title.
1947.
1947, 43, 84, 92. One of those numbers.
One of those numbers. I know.
But yeah, Thomas Jane was in that one, which was also a Netflix film.
Yeah, that one I also kind of I was like, meh. But
I think you just don't know how to appreciate film.
Well, no. But have you seen Nosferatu? That's actually his son.
That was gonna say, wasn't it?
Was his son? But
was it written by both of them, or was it just his son?
I want to say it was just his son, but you know that vampire came from Salem's Lot.
Oh, yes.
I mean...
Which is also another good book.
And let me tell you, Joe Hill, which actually Joe, which I know his kids, I think, didn't you meet Owen or when y'all were young? Because I know that y'all used to go to that...
Possibly, but then again,
because I know they were older than you, but I think you had mentioned you were young one time, and it's like, well, because the kids were always, around and stuff.
Yeah.
But there's Joe, Owen, and Naomi. And Naomi is, she is, I think, married to another woman, I think, and she's a preacher. She's like, okay, go, girl, go. Wave that rainbow flag proud. But... Joe, he actually wanted to, like his father, he wanted to make a success on his own merit.
Yeah.
So he used Hill from the maiden name of the family, Hillstrom, which is the mother is Tabitha Spruce and the father is actually Stephen. But Hillstrom is I believe it's a family name as well. I think somewhere along the line Hillstrom is in the family way, but they look alike. They could be twins.
Right? Didn't Stephen King also do that at one point too? Use a pen name?
He used
Richard
Bachman.
Yeah.
And there was a clerk up in New York somewhere, always them troublemakers up there. Mm-hmm. He wanted to see if, after a while, you automatically have, instance, people say that whatever you write is, you're like, turns to gold and stuff.
Yeah.
He, I guess, wanted to see if he really had the stuff. So he wrote, I want to say, The Long Walk, Running Man. It was that series, and he wrote it under Richard Bachman. And I think also there was also I think the Regulators. The
Regulators, and also the Desperation.
Desperation,
which I haven't read. I read the Regulators, but I haven't.
Them both. They're good.
It's kind of like those two books are kind of like
it's the same characters.
It's kind of like how American Horror Story is, where they use the same actors,
same characters,
just in a different setting.
Different setting.
So
like an alternate.
Like
reality,
universe.
Yeah.
Yes, there you go. I did read the Regulators. That was also a really good one too. Mm-hmm. That one is a perfect, I think, entryway into a lot of Stephen King's work too, because that one is, it's a very self-contained story.
Yeah.
In a neighborhood, you have this many characters, and it's kind of like
6 characters.
Yes. So it's very easy to follow, a very easy read, but still really good too. I haven't read Desperation yet.
It's really good, actually. I read both of them, but I mean, literally in a weekend. I got through them. But this clerk had started noticing, I guess how when you're texting or you're like on Facebook and you're like doing a little messenger thing, you're like, oh yeah, I know that's you because you don't talk that way. It's like I'm typing, you're not hearing me talk. But he noticed, he was just terco. As they say in Hispanic culture, terco means he was just very persistent. He was being persistent that this is Stephen King. And it's like, I guess his friends were like, dude, you're drunk. It's like, no, this is Stephen King. So this dude takes it upon himself to, I guess, Google... Was Google a thing back then? I don't know.
Wait, what year is this?
I know. I think it was like in the 90s. I think,
I don't think
they had AOL 2.0.
Yeah.
But he actually found... Because, the Library of Congress, you have to, it has, the pen names that you use, pseudonyms and stuff, because it's like some kind of law shit or something. I don't know. But he found that it was Stephen King. So, and he's like, I knew it.
It's always revealed.
Yeah, he was like, booyah to his friends. It was like, I told you, I know my shit. And so, and that's when Stephen King was like, decided to like do this little, story in the back that he succumbed to cancer. And it's Richard Bachman succumbed to cancer. Yeah, But no.
Going back into our favorite reads, or at least one of our favorite stories.
Adapt it.
Oh.
You said that you liked, because I didn't like it, and you said it had that dystopian H.P. Lovecraftian feel to it. There was another one that we really did not kind of. You were like, oh, I thought it was. You said In the Tall Grass had that very Lovecraft feel. Yeah,
well, because I do like Lovecraftian themes because it does.
Is that an actual term, Lovecraftian?
Yeah, of course.
And
and it's just borrowing the writing style in which H.P. Lovecraft told his stories. It's very cosmic horror, and what that usually entails is an omnipotent being or presence that is just beyond our realm of comprehension.
Sort of like Dean Koontz' Phantoms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's when you have in the Tallgrass, the reason why I consider it very cosmic horror is because you have this very benign looking sort of stone. Mm-hmm. Or object in the middle of a field that is causing... Of course,
again, another thing. Now I'm terrified of big...
big boulders in the middle of a cornfield.
Yeah, cornfields. I'm terrified of cornfields now.
But that's what it is. It's just something that's so benign in nature as a stone that just is obviously from a different realm, maybe a different planet. You don't know. It's never really explained, but it's causing all of this like stuff to be distorted, all of space-time to be distorted. And that's the...
Like they say in Star Trek, the space-time continuum.
We'll always repeat. But yeah, so that's what that is. It's just some freaky stuff happens. And so that's kind of what cosmic horror is. It's just stuff that we can't control, that we are in awe of it. So he does touch upon that with some of his books.
Well, if you want to talk H.P. Lovecraft, nothing screams H.P. Lovecraft in his style than The Mist.
Yes.
That's
a perfect one.
I mean, hello, these things have been ripped out of
a different dimension.
A different dimension because, of course, the Arrowhead Project. Goddamn government is going and getting involved in splitting atoms and stuff.
Which also, that was a great adaptation as well. The film is. I recommend the film for sure.
I loved it.
People, it's a very controversial ending. We're not going to give it away.
Yep.
You have to go watch it. But it's a very controversial...
It's a very crushing ending.
And actually, that's
because there's two versions. There's the actual movie.
That's the theatrical version.
Yeah, and then there's the Netflix. Of course, there we go again. Netflix.
Wait, is it on Netflix?
Yeah, it's a different... The second version is on Netflix, which it was serialized.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it was turned into a series. And let me tell you, I wasn't happy with that.
Like, what do you mean, like with the series in general? Or?
Yeah, I wasn't happy with it. I mean, the movie was great. No.
But I was going to say that the ending of The Mist film, the theatrical one, they did take liberty with how it ended because that's not how the story ended. I personally liked it. Mm-hmm. I think I liked it because it was so different, the format, in how it ended, and yeah. So I definitely recommend it, and it follows the book quite well.
It does, and it's just it kind of, to me, because everybody's like, I hate, and people are gonna say, I hate stories where everything is hunky-dory at the end.
Yeah.
Am I dating myself by saying hunky-dory? Because I think that's kind of like a dated expression. But yeah, and it's like, this is reality. Not, there ain't no fairy tale endings in life. And so that's why, I mean, it was well put together, and he also tied, in that story, I'm going to say for y'all to go out there, I challenge y'all to read it because, it's a short story. It's one of the longer of the short stories in his book. I mean, because I know that Skeleton Crew is one of my favorites, but that one, The Mist...
Because The Mist was in Skeleton Crew.
The Mist was actually... No, I don't think it was in Skeleton Crew.
Was it not? I could be remembering it wrong.
No. The Mist was in, I want to say, the collection, because it was the longer one of the two.
Yeah.
But it was in, you're right, it was in Skeleton Crew.
I told you, I know my Stephen King.
You're right, it was in the Skeleton Crew. That one?
But it was also, it was... so good.
It was the longer one of the...
Well, it was so good that they even took the story out and made it its own, like... Standalone little novella.
Yeah, they did.
You can technically buy the book The Mist, but it did originate from Skeleton Crew. It was part of that short story collection.
And you mentioned novellas. Stephen King did also something that it's... I guess... in the old days, they used to have in the theaters, I think like somewhere in the 50s or something, they used to have what you call these cliffhanger, little cliffhanger shorts in this, then it was kind of like a marketing ploy to get people to go to the movies every weekend and just like that. So they called the term cliffhanger because they would literally leave you hanging as to, oh my God, what's going to happen next? And you had to go spend that 50 cents the next weekend to go find what happened. But
do you remember those days, Mom?
Shut up. I'm like, yeah.
Can you imagine 50 cents for a movie today?
Oh my God.
Well, not in these times anymore. You can't even go to a film. Are theaters even open? I think you can still rent.
Go COVID. I think you can rent them.
It's been forever since I've been to a theater. I want to say maybe like 2 years.
I think, yeah.
I mean, but then again, I'm just as happy staying home renting the film. And
it's like we're not going to say what else we do with how we get those films.
I don't have to hide my snacks anymore.
Oh gosh, yeah. I used to like when y'all were little. We used to go to the dollar store and get all the snacks.
You would literally have us holding everything in our flipping jackets and our backpacks. You're like, oh, hide it here, mijo. Don't move too much. It's gonna fall out.
I know. I used to have my kids. It's the equivalent of us hiding when I was young.
I feel like it's a very Hispanic thing.
No, actually, it's a very hello.
It's a very everybody thing.
Yeah, because I know some white people that did that too. Let me tell you, and nothing against every race has its little thing. Let me tell you, but when I was young, you would go into the trunk to sneak somebody into the drive-in theater.
Oh my God. Which also that's another dying.
We have one here, but it's not working right now.
Yeah, like I remember you took us to a drive-in theater maybe like 3 or 4 times
in your life.
In our life, but I just love the experience. I wish those were more commonplace.
Well, let's get back to the Wild Says Hey. These randomness, we go off on these tangents and stuff. But the Green Mile was actually a series of 6 books. People forget that it was actually a serial book series. Wow. Cereal, not as the kind you eat. Serial book series. It was 6 short books. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you, it was like the literary version of a cliffhanger. Oh. So I loved The Green Mile, and I loved the film. Oh my God, Tom Hanks did such a great job with it.
That was an amazing film. It makes you cry.
And there it is again.
That's a different type of horror.
Yeah, I mean...
This had no supernatural...
Well, no, he had kind of like a Shining.
Well, yes, so what was his name again?
Oh gosh, in the story, his name...
And, the actor's no longer alive.
Oh, yeah, I know. And you know, they actually did a talent search, and he was actually like a steel worker. In Pennsylvania somewhere. But the Green Mile
cast
was actually...
Michael Clark Duncan. It was John Coffey.
John Coffey, yes. Oh,
yeah, so he kind of had a little bit of The Shining. So there was that supernatural element there, but that was really the only thing. It was like a movie about race.
Yeah.
About injustice.
Yeah.
Which is, again, quite fitting.
Racial profiling.
Exactly.
I mean...
So those are all terrifying things in and of themselves, especially for the time period that took place.
Yeah, exactly.
So... And
just the, the depths of darkness that the human...
The one security guard who was just... Perry, that's his name. He was just so... Can we swear on this podcast?
Yeah.
Fucked up. Seriously fucked up character. But he got his comeuppance.
Yeah, he did, actually, yeah. And I was so sad. I cried with that story. Yes. And then with the movie, when John Coffey dies. Yeah. And it's like, no. But he was ready.
It was one of those endings where it's just like you think it's at the very end he'll come through. Like he'll get saved, he'll pull through, but no, it's just sometimes
the reality of things.
The reality of that time where stuff like that just happened.
Yeah.
And that's what's terrifying.
I was so sad with that story. I was just gutted with it. But
did that take place? The Green Mile, was that at Shawshank?
No, it wasn't at Shawshank. Shawshank was in different seasons. It was Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption. That was what it originally called, because Hello Rita Hayworth was her photo was what where it hit the way out.
Yeah.
But Shawshank Redemption. Where did it take place?
Oh yeah, so it's right here. The Green Mile takes place in Louisiana. So I see, that was something I didn't know until just now. I thought the Green Mile took place at Shawshank.
No, it wasn't at Shawshank.
But that was another good setting.
Yeah.
Another good book.
Yeah.
Or was it a book?
It was, it was, hello, I just said it. Oh my goodness, and I'm the one that's old? I just said it was in different seasons.
Oh, no, but I'm just...
I said it was called Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption. And also another one that was turned into a movie, and from that book was The Body, which was Stand By Me.
Yeah.
So it's like...
well, excuse me for doing a little bit of research over here.
Yes.
I must have missed it.
He's over there with like quick Google. I mean, you know what? It's like these kids, my children grew up in the age of Google. I mean, when I wanted to research, I had to actually walk to the library.
Take out a book
and actually go through the card catalog. I mean, there was no such thing. So when my children were like, oh, I didn't get to... Why did you get a 0 on this, report? I mean, all you had to do was Google the damn thing. Oh.
So actually, yeah, you're right. So kids nowadays they have no reason to not get good grades or good grades on the reports and the written essays, because we have Google now. So
you've had Google for the last 10 years. It's like,
can I just say something?
What?
Google came in handy when I was going through college, especially for my online classes.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it did. Have another laptop there going. Well, okay, the answer to this is quick. Clack, 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 clack.
And I know, you know what? And if you say you did not do that, you're lying.
Yeah, exactly. Totally busted. Because let me tell you, that ain't true. So, yeah, but you didn't know my pain. If we wanted to have... if we wanted, and some of y'all randos out there can really, yes, that's what I call my people. I call them randos. Because, they're all rent space in my random stream of consciousness. But let me tell you, nobody knows the pain like Generation Xers, which is me.
Mm-hmm. You're not baby boomer?
No, hell, excuse me? Yeah, I'm a Generation Xer. Let me tell you, we had to wait all day with our little cassette tape, wait for that one song we wanted to record on our cassette tape, and then right when we would hear it,
the song,
we would hit record and hope that we didn't get part of the DJ in there talking.
Oh my God, I could not. The struggles of living in that time, I sympathize.
Yeah, but let me tell you, Stephen King was a big escape for me as far as, when I read his books, it's like I can see the movie in my head. So, because he
makes it very, when he writes, he really does give great visual for you to kind of feed off of.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like candy reading his books.
Oh, gosh, it's like, yes.
I literally will be a Stephen King fan till the day I die.
Yes,
as long as he keeps turning out the books, I'll keep buying and reading them. Actually...
Yes, and my son for Mother's Day.
Well, I had to give it to her just a little early because I won't be around for Sunday. But
I have If It Bleeds.
Yes,
I can't wait. I know, I can't wait. It's going to be... But,
This is another short story collection.
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. I know. And actually... He did, I know, and I did talk about Nosferatu, and I don't, people, that was Joe Hill, his son. Mm-hmm. But let me tell you, Joe Hill is right up there with his dad. He is such, not to mention he's a flippin' doppelganger of his father. But, look at that. He looks like a young Steve King.
Oh, wow, he really does.
Totally young Steve King. But let me tell you that he is right there, and he is right there. And actually, just so you know, look what else he wrote.
Heart-shaped box?
In the Tall Grass.
Oh.
So yeah, people out there, we kind of spoke out of turn. In the Tall Grass is Joe Hill. But the thing is, it's so easy. But they're so alike. They're so alike. Hello.
You could easily mistake it, yeah.
Having Steve King as your dad, it's like, what?
Oh my gosh, I could not imagine living up to those standards.
But I didn't. Now, the book I read, it's really, and actually it's a novella. Mm-hmm. Awesome. But I hate the made for Netflix. I mean, I hate it myself. But let me tell you,
you felt like you were hating on Stephen King himself.
Yeah, but you know, and also, you know, he also did Horns, which was Hello. The movie came out with Daniel Radcliffe.
Oh, he did that one?
That's him.
I did not even know that. I haven't seen the movie either, but I did not know that was Joe Hill.
Oh yeah, and Lock and Key. It came out on Netflix. Well, that was
in my defense, I really haven't gotten into a lot of Joe Hill's work, but I can see myself like segueing into his stuff. Yeah. Very easily.
Plus, he's 2 years younger than me. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he's also a Generation X. But no, so, it's very easy to mistake, but I think Nosferatu, which was Joe Hill, I think he literally, that creature, I want to say is part of the Stephen King multiverse, because it screams vampire from Salem's Lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Another good book that I like was Misery. Oh. And even the film. I loved the film, too. Kathy Bates did such a great job embodying that character. And
that was the first time that a horror, this was a horror film. Straight up. I mean, it was, it had elements of this kind of, but it wasn't supernatural, but she won Best Actress of the year, and it was well deserved too. And the film won Best Movie.
I think it even made her career. Like that was.
It did. It was a turning point. She actually, if you listen to one of her talks, and I think it's available for streaming. I don't know where I saw it, but she talked about how that was a turning point for her. And of course, Hello. Then there was Dolores Claiborne.
I think it was even when I read that book, the whole what was his name? James Caan, the actor.
James Caan. Yeah.
Well, his character in the book and in the film, he's a writer, and he has this #1 fan. So it kind of made me think, like, was this kind of him giving commentary on what it was like?
Well, when we were living in Bangor, because we lived there for almost 10 years, his house was broken into by a fucking deranged fan. I mean, he comes downstairs to have his coffee probably in his chonies, which is, in his boxer shorts. And hello, there's this crazy person in the middle of his island, of his little kitchen island. And he's like, I mean, and he's, I'm your #1 fan. Because literally, you can literally walk up to his house.
Yeah.
I mean, literally.
It's a beautiful house, too.
It's gorgeous. And for those that are fans of the sci-fi channels, Anthony Michael Hall's The Dead Zone series, which was a very good series, they literally took that home. The interior is for the set for the character, Anthony Michael Hall's character is an exact replica of Stephen King's house. And all this deep cherry and stuff. Yeah, but Steve King has.
But that was a book that was so, for Misery, like you said, that was a horror story, but it was rooted in reality. There was really nothing supernatural about that at all. It was just some crazy fan who went to the extreme.
She kind of, the cheese slipped off her sandwich.
The hobbling scene? Oh my god, it gets me every time. I cringe, I scream.
But I think what's horrifying for me is that this was something that was done in the plantation days, during slavery. I mean, they still needed to have the people to be able to work the fields, but not to run away. It's like, so you hobble them. Can you imagine the horror? I mean, I still, to this day, I cannot watch that scene when I see.
You kind of close your eyes and you cut your teeth.
It's like,
and the look in her eyes when she does it, right before she does it, she kind of the camera is angled down, looking up at her, and she's just giving that deadpan stare.
Oh my god!
I swear, Kathy Bates, she was the perfect character.
Oh yeah, she was
the perfect actress for that role.
She really and she really said that was actually a turning point in her career. And hello, I mean, that's why he gets her for Dolores Claiborne. She did a real good job with that too. Her and Bridget Fonda. And so yeah, I mean, that was a really I mean, to kind of take, because you know what happens. I mean, not just she's being, I mean, the thing is that domestic abuse is a horrible thing, but not only is she getting abused by her husband, but I think what finally caused her to lose it was when she realized that her husband was molesting the daughter.
Wait, what book is that?
That was Dolores Claiborne.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I had a brain fart.
She was molesting the
yes,
little girl. I mean, not her, the husband, and
Selena.
that's what... Selena. So that's what caused her to just say, you know what, And I loved the woman, the one that's the boss, and says, sometimes being a bitch is all a woman that has to hold on to.
Yes,
I love that scene. Yeah, I love that scene.
They don't really go. I don't think they really go into her character in the film, but in the book, they really expand upon their relationship.
Yes, because I mean, at first I was like,
Dolores
bitch?
is in that, and her. And
I was
her
like,
employers.
I go, God dang, this woman is.
And
she
then,
only paid her so much money. I'm like, for all the work you're doing.
It even alludes to her. Not even. I don't think allude is the right word. I think she straight up tells Dolores that she has.
That's how she did it.
She killed her husband.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's
she had a little dead body, little skeletons in her closet too.
Yeah, they kind of bonded over that.
Yes,
because she knew. She knew that she
had experience with fucked up men in her life.
Yeah,
and she saw that that's what Dolores was going through.
And she said, "Here you go. Here, take some food, take some liquor for your husband. There's an eclipse tonight.
Right?
It's like, go. You can take the day off tomorrow too, with pay."
There's just so many stories.
I know. Films. We can go on forever and ever, but of course we can't because, of course, of time constraints. So,
well, do you have any sort of I wonder if your readers or your listeners can chime in and let you know what their favorite movies were.
Oh yeah, of course. I'm going to have it in the show notes. Of course, you can always send us your thoughts or your opinions, or chime in at mishmashsoup214@gmail.com. I do have an Instagram and a Facebook page, of course, called Mishmash Soup. So
I haven't even followed. I'm gonna go follow today.
But you can also follow my son, aka the Classy Queer.
I don't have a Facebook page; it's just the Instagram. But
but he's actually has a little bit of a following himself with his little makeup tutorials,
tips, just beauty content, stuff for inspiration. But you can find me there, the Classy Queer, all one word.
Yes, but until then, I really hope that you've enjoyed our little tangent that was all over the place, kind of like the equivalent of Stephen King's multiverse.
Our random stream of consciousness.
Until next time, randos, keep it strange and random, and we will see you in the next one.
Bye.